Thanks to all, whoever has joined from whichever parts of the world, morning, afternoon, or evening. I appreciate you all joining us today for this exciting retail webinar. I hope your day is going exceptionally well. We are diving into a very stimulating topic for today, which is how GenAI is transforming the retail innovation. Your attendance is greatly valued, so allow me to start with the introduction of myself as well as my company also to you. My name is Nitin Naveen, and I serve as the Vice President of Innovation and Strategy at AI CoreSpot. With nearly a couple of decades of experience in different consulting firms that navigates emerging technologies, I'm privileged to have collaborated with many stakeholders, global thinkers, absorbing their innovative ideas and solutions. Today, I have my couple of colleagues. Aravind is there, and in the back end, Naveen is there to help me out to make this session an absorbing one. So their commitment and endeavor in shaping this event deserves a round of applause. Now about our company, AI Core Spot. I just want to give a glimpse of that so that you understand what it is all about. We commenced our journey around 4 years ago to establish a focal point for knowledge in different emerging technologies. It includes AI, ML, blockchain, GenAI, robotics, IoT, and there are a lot of other areas where we had done events and we are planning to do more webinars as well. Our webinars aim to impart cutting-edge technological developments within the industry. Each month, we explore different technology things. We have different industries which we cover, different themes, and continuously we are expanding our reach, not only to the US market, but we are doing in a lot of our events in Middle East as well as in Indian market as well. We aspire to cultivate the foremost AI-centric community globally, inviting like-minded individuals to join in our collective progression and knowledge-sharing sessions. By conducting webinars and in-person events supported by industry insights, we anchor our learning in trusted information provided by all our extreme experts and all our valued partners as well. We curate content across different digital mediums which we have, such as blogs, videos, podcasts, newsletters, and we eliminate the rapidly changing tech landscape. Turning to today's webinar for which you all have come for, we have got a very compelling subject, as I said in the beginning, smart retail solutions, GenAI at the forefront. Our speakers will delve into different and significant aspects such as industry use cases, challenges in GenAI adoption, personalization, future, and much more, which is within the retail space. The expert panel is set to offer substantial insights with a lot of use cases and some enriching discussions, which I'm sure no one wants to miss out for. Let's begin with some key pointers for today. First of all, thanks to all our community partners, sponsors, and speaker companies for their pivotal role today, which includes Riddell and InfoVision. Also, immense thanks to our attendees for dedicating your time and energy. Your engagement is crucial to reaching our objectives and networking with peers. Our primary mission as a platform is to facilitate access to valuable knowledge, foster significant connections as well. So at the end of the session, if you learn some innovative concepts or leverage new networks, we'll consider it's a great effort from our side. Now, it's my pleasure to introduce our esteemed panel members. So let me introduce them one by one. Our first speaker is Sruti Patnaik. She is the retail CIO. Our second speaker is Aravind Kashyap, who is the Chief Information Officer at Riddell. Our third speaker is Hemanth Kumar, who is Vice President, Retail Strategy and Innovation at InfoVision. And our fourth speaker and moderator for this particular webinar is Jaydev Doshi, who is Director, Retail at InfoVision. Please note before we commence, as we put a disclaimer in all our webinars, that the opinions expressed by the speakers are their personal ones and it's not related or represent their associated organizations. With that said, I pass on the stage to Jaydev to steer this amazing panel discussion. Over to you, Jaydev.
Thank you so much, Nitin. Thank you so much for the wonderful introduction and to the topic. And we're really excited to have this conversation today. We have an esteemed panel here, and I'm really looking forward to deep diving into the impacts of Gen AI within the retail innovation. How is Gen AI reshaping the entire world of retail? Before we get into that, AI is not something that's new. AI has been on the forefront of discussions for the past decade or so. But since 2022, it kind of got a boost and an acceleration with the advent of OpenAI and the Chat GPT, which kind of made it a talking point of not only the C-suite board, not only the cooler room conversation. It probably became a conversation of the dining table as well, right? Uh, that led to a lot of adoption and use cases that we've seen within the industry. We've seen a drastic ramp up within this space, and it's just phenomenal with the way the pace at which the industry is growing within this particular sector, right? As mentioned, we have an esteemed panel today. So what I'll do is let's start with a quick introduction. I'll hand it over to Shruti to introduce herself, and then we'll deep dive into the topic.
Well,
So,
good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where you've called in from. First off, I'd like to thank AI CoreSpot and InfoVision for having me in the panel today. I'm a retail CIO, and having led IT organizations and many retailers, I'm here to share my thoughts and also learn from everybody here today. Jaydev, thank you for calling that out. I appreciate you saying that AI is not 2 years old. AI has been around for a while. Definitely Gen AI has been a talk of the world since 22, 23. So I'm very excited to share my learnings and my experiences as well as learn from all of you today. Thank you for having me.
thank you so much, Shruti. Over to you, Aravind.
Perfect. Thanks everyone. Thanks for AI CoreSpot and InfoVision. Thanks, Sruti, for joining this panel as well. My name is Aravind Kashyap. I'm based out of Dallas, Texas. I am CIO at Riddell Sports. For many of you who admire Dallas Cowboys, which is my team, we are the makers of helmet, shoulder pads, visors, chin straps, everything that goes with the sport of football. We've been the market leader in the sport of football, especially from a equipment standpoint. We work across every single dimension of the sport, whether it is in the elite level, at the NFL level, NCAA, high school, middle school, roughly about 40,000 customers. So I lead the IT organization for Riddell. We're an exciting space. So we're a legacy organization, about 95 years in the business. But definitely AI is changing the way we internally at Riddell look at decision support, look at insights, analytics, look at how to take actions, the next best actions that need to be taken for various situations. So excited to be part of this panel, even though we're not a pure play retail. We have online stores, so we're going to be, we're not like a brick and mortar store, but we do provide online stores for our customers. So a lot of those principles do apply for our business as well.
No, absolutely, Aravind. We absolutely want to understand the innovation, not only from retail perspective, but also from an e-commerce perspective. So your insights would really be valuable in that space. Right. And we also have Hemanth on the call, and I would like Hemanth to introduce himself.
Hey, thank you, Jaydev. Hi, Aravind. Hi, Shruti. Thanks for the great introduction. So thank you, AI CoreSpot team, for having me here again. So my pleasure being a part of this great panel today. So a brief about me, myself, Hemanth. I'm the Vice President, Retail Strategy and Innovation at InfoVision. So I have been with InfoVision for close to 7 years and come with over 18 years of experience in the technology consulting, pretty much on the retail. So I have worked with a lot of industry leaders and CXOs like Shruti and Aravind, especially on the transformative journeys in retail across omni-channel. So InfoVision, again, like a 30-year young company is what I would call it as, focusing heavily on the innovation front, solving some of the critical industry problems, let it be retail, telecom, banking, or whatsoever. We've been helping customers in their strategic initiatives as a technology and innovation partner. So yeah, as Jaydev was mentioning, like, AI, like not a buzzword anymore. And now we are into this phase where we don't really need to sell AI to anyone. Everyone understands the importance of it, and we are living with AI. And now we are heading towards the next steps, right, on how and where, like, we can implement the emerging technologies in solving some of the critical business and the customer problems. So very excited about today and this particular panel, and I look forward a great session today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hemanth. And I would like to thank AI CoreSpot for putting together this panel and having this topic shared, because this is a topic which touches very closely with a lot of industry, and everyone wants to understand how things are going. So the way we want to structure this is we'll probably start with understanding how GenAI has been adopted within the industry. What are the use cases? Where do we see the advantages of leveraging GenAI, followed by understanding the overall impacts or overall challenges in the implementation, and then understand what the future lies ahead for us, right? With that said, if there's one takeaway from this entire session that I would like the audience to take back after the conversation, it would be understanding that we are just scratching the surface of a large endeavor, and just sky's the limit with going forward with this, right? But okay, so having said that, wanted to understand Gen AI, again, as I said, not something that's new. It has been around for about more than a decade now. It just had different flavors. When we started off, we were more into machine learning. We were trying to understand how can we leverage machines to make certain decisioning for us. And with Gen AI coming in, it just took a boost, which has been catapulting it into new stratospheres, right? So wanted to understand from you, Shruti, what are the use cases that you've seen? Where do you see the advantages of leveraging Gen AI? How do you see the industry shaping and moving forward with this?
Yeah, thank you for that question. I'm seeing retailers use Gen AI in determining insights for sales trends, revenue prediction, assortment trends, determining merchandising trends, customer segmentation. Aravind talked about e-commerce and omni-channel. I'm seeing retailers use it a lot, and we've seen statistics from the Christmas season last year using it for chatbots that are intelligent. Oftentimes, you would go and say, hey, I want to buy a slightly off-white shirt with a little bit of a tinge of blue on the side, and you would probably get 20 links or 20 options. In the world of ADHD, even for adults, you lose that customer right away. So with conversational AI and Gen AI, we are able to take structured data, unstructured data, and give answers quickly and succinctly on the e-commerce sites with the help of chatbots. So that is one place I'm seeing a lot of retailers use that. And then on the customer engagement, just building on that vein that I just finished talking about, is understanding customer sentiment and reacting quickly. That's the key here, right? It's not about, I was not able to give you that white shirt with a tinge of blue border. It's about how quickly you can do it, how engaging you are, so that you can close that query into a basket that leads to a sale. I definitely have seen retailers use it in managing, in HR for management of retail employees. And the obvious ones, right? IT organizations and retailers are using it for development. It is expediting processes within the development cycle. So I know there's a constant fear, somebody's going to take my job, but think about the time from the ideation stage to the stage you go live with it. That definitely is an area I'm seeing IT organization, engineering organizations and retailers use it to expedite that process.
Well, that's very well put, Shruti. In fact, I echo with what you shared from the overall implementation perspective. Have use cases going all the way from sales to development to post-sales services and everything as well. Aravind, if you would love to add anything to this topic.
And I think Shruti covered most of it. And when I look at the industry, there are two things that are happening, and this is not today. This has been the life of retail as an industry, is to crush cost and grow sales. So if you take those two important levers, anything that will help the retailers to achieve that goal, right? How do they crush the cost? Because they are working at at a very, very small percentage margin when it comes to the business. So anything that will help them to crush cost, or think about areas where cost is critical, right? Well, IT is definitely a big part of the cost aspect of it, and AI is already there in our development environment. It's there in our IT landscape, even before we realize. Every single product that you buy today, every single license that you buy, every single vendor that you talk to has already built in AI, and they have some feature of AI. So there's IT is big. Think about optimizing supply chain. That's a big part of it, right? Retailers are so tied to supply chain, and AI in the supply chain space is very big. And then on the gross sales, uh, retaining the customer, right? And making the customer buy more and buy often, right? You need two things. You need them to buy more, and you want them to buy often, because you don't want one and done customer, and you don't want one product. They got to check more. They got to come in more, right? And then they have to buy more. So experience and really providing what they need. And AI has played a great role, and I think that's an area that we have constantly evolved. We have concepts like the chat bot and personalized recommendations for customers. Today, if you go to any retailer, the thought process is about, how do I give you a basket of items that you need, right? You pick a shirt, I match a pant, and I match a tie, I match a shoe to that, right? And so it's that those are all are now, I see it as a norm in retail space. The reason why it has become so vastly adopted is the availability of data, right? Why AI? If you really look at the last 15-20 years and how AI is now, you have data. Now you have structured, unstructured, and you have an ability to mine decisions and mine preferences out of the data, right? And then you have the advent of the natural language processing and the large language models that has made it possible for us to deploy AI solutions faster. So it's an interesting space for retailers, and they've been using it for hyper personalization. They've been using it for product recommendations, for crush cost, inventory and demand forecasting. There's an areas that they look at. Customer support, absolutely an area where, and then obviously technology and IT, which is a big cost aspect for retailers. That's another area. Marketing and advertisement is another interesting area where AI has come in, and one needs to understand the retailers spend a lot of money on marketing, right? It's not a small amount. In fact, that would be one of the largest spends as well. So AI is there in marketing to make it much more intelligent, right? Target the right customer at the right place, the right time, in a right life cycle of what they want. So AI is there as well. So there's across the value chain of retail, I would say every aspect of that has been touched by AI now.
So that's very interesting point that you brought up, Arvind, especially on the marketing and the retail marketing aspect of it, right? Because when we look at Gen AI, a lot of conversations we have are around how are we leveraging chatbots, how are we improving the conversational piece of it, because the conversations on the forefront of the AI, right? But there's also the element of image generations within the AI. There's also the video generations of the AI. A lot of industry is experimenting with that, with how we can make those marketing campaigns more relevant, more targeted, and bring it to the forefront of everyone's mind. Something that every industry is trying to do is personalization, right? As you rightly pointed out, personalization is a space where which is very close to every industry. We want to make sure our messaging that goes out is personalized to the customer we are actually talking with, right? So having said that, what trends do we see from a personalization perspective? Where do we see advantages of leveraging Gen AI? How can we make it more relevant to the customers that we are talking with, not only from just the chatbot perspective, but as you also kind of highlighted, from marketing campaign perspective, from having the right message sent at the right time within the life cycle?
Yeah, it's interesting one. I think the chatbots were if I remember about maybe 7 years back, chatbots were there to do to they were task oriented, right? They did what you asked them to do, right? I need my bank balance. You would ask, okay, what's the balance on my account, right? Or how much is my credit limit? Or, did I pay my invoice or show me my invoice? So chatbots had specific tasks. Now chatbots have moved beyond the task activities. They moved into recommendation space. They move into understanding who you are and personalizing that conversation for who you are as a customer, and also when and where and how are you coming in, and really interpreting the intent of why you're coming, right? Why are you chatting? The intent is very important. Once you understand the intent, then I think the responses, and that's where the large language models are understanding the whole idea of, I understand the intent that you're coming in, right? If I am at a, if I am at a, think about, if I'm at uh, a car dealership, and I go and chat with, I don't know, think of Bank of America's, what is it called, the Erica, right? That you chat with. It understands that you are at a bank dealership and you are looking at maybe a loan, right? The intent of that is you're buying something and your intent is to really look at some rates for your car loans. And that is becoming very, very critical. So the chatbots have become intelligent from task to intent, and really responding to intent. And I was recently, it's a very interesting phenomenon that the Domino's, which actually is a pizza company, and they've been in the forefront of customer experience for a very, very long time. They launched something called, hey, they understand who you are and they know your preferences. They know that, hey, as Aravind Kashyap wants, I don't know, think about a vegetarian pizza with with the thin crust, right? All I had to do was to send an emoji to Domino's, and they will send us a pizza that's the favorite pizza for me. You don't have to place an order, you don't have to call anybody, you don't have to talk to at a store agent, right, and tell them, I need this whatever pineapple topping on top of my pizza. So it's an interesting thing that these things, the bots have become, that their intent is very, very clear, and it's able to super personalize. But again, I think the adoption of the bot has also increased significantly. While I know, retailers have launched, every retail has launched bots. I think customer adoption, especially when it comes to Gen Zs, right, and their ability to communicate in single syllables, right, one word, right, with a lot of acronyms, right, it becomes so easy, because now you're adopting to a newer population, a newer customer, right, who does not want to type or doesn't want to talk, right, 5 minutes explaining what they're looking for, right? So I think there's also a customer behavior change and the customer population change, which has made the adoption of these bots even more important.
Absolutely,
Well said,
absolutely.
well said. Like you were mentioning, and even Shruti was mentioning, like we see the customer retention as the key for any of the generative AI-driven initiatives today, right? So conversational commerce picking up big time, where people really want to leverage that for making a sale through a conversation. All this is really critical, and those days are gone where bots are meant to answer the basic questions. Today they are like intelligent enough to even sell and recommend you something and make an informed buying decision. Totally agree. And as you rightly mentioned, personalization, I think we have gone into a stage of hyper personalization, leveraging generative AI, making the experience a lot more intuitive, especially the example what you gave about the Domino's. How can a simple emoji make a sale? That's phenomenal. And we're already there in this particular world. And Shruti, like when you were mentioning about the understanding, like right from the sales predictions and all that, today, like what I'm seeing when I talk to leaders like you today. So the major concerns in retail, very specific to the churn, the customer churn, right? Identifying the customer churn and see where the dropout rate is, and rather being reactive, be proactive, helping them out and bringing back into your sales funnel. That's very critical. And yeah, I've seen like a lot of leaders like you and Arvind focusing heavily on say, hey, like we really need a solution that solves a critical problem like this. Customer, I want to really retain my customer and certainly upsell. So I think great thoughts from you both, Aravind and Shruti.
If I could just add a sentence to what was already said, and very well said, Hemanth and Aravind. Not all retailers have good data, right? That is just the reality of the world we live in, right? And so what GenAI has also helped to do is take your unstructured data and make that chatbot or that customer engagement tool more effective. That is what has made it very easy for many of the retailers to do that, right? Not everybody has good data, and we'll talk about that as this conversation unfolds. So I just wanted to sprinkle that thought in there too.
No, absolutely, Shruti. That's very critical. Like one of the biggest hurdles towards the Gen AI adoption, towards an AI adoption is what is the data that we have? How are our processes from a data perspective structured, and how can we have the right data points available to support the implementation of any and every solution that we're planning to build for our customers, right? So data is kind of, as it has been rightly said, data is the new gold. We have to make sure we have the right data to service the right audience that we're looking for, right? So having said that, from where like data is one of the challenges that we see within this world of Gen AI adoption, but what are the other challenges that we are seeing? One thing that I've seen from a market perspective is the adoption of Gen AI is also an endeavor where we have to shift our focus. We have to put in a lot of value towards this, right? So I've seen both. I've seen champions who really want the industry to go in and build the latest and greatest models so that we are at the forefront of it. But I've also seen people who have their own reservations when we are picking up some of these Gen AI initiatives. So from CXO level, how do you see that? What are the challenges that we are facing? Are there do they see AI as the boon that will help solve some of the greatest problems that and the industry has, or do we see it as just the next phase of technology implementation?
Is that question for me, Jaydev?
Yes, Shruti, if you can probably help.
All right. Indeed, whatever you said is 100% correct there. Everyone wants to do something with AI. But before we talk about the pressures we get from C-suite and the board, let's talk about the challenges for a second here. And you touched on the number one challenge, which is data. And if I had like 5 hours, I could be talking about data to make Gen AI more effective, right? We have to ask ourselves, is the data ready to use Gen AI on top of it? Now, why is that important, right? LLM is a commodity. For me, that's not your value generator, right? It's not that hard to connect to a OpenAI or connect to a Gemini, right? What differentiates your organization? Your differentiating factor is how you use your data to give you that gold, that diamond that you're looking to separate you from your competitors, right? So the questions we have to ask as we train those models is our data clean? Is it organized? Is it structured? Very cliched 3 words, I've used that. But when you go under the hood, right, it is so important because the data is not always clean. I talked about it earlier, a minute or 2 ago, right? Is your data complete? Is it in the right bucket? Is it structured foundationally correctly? Jaydev, you talked about video. You are using that. Is it tagged? Meta tagging is a big problem in our data sets, right? So data, I can't stress enough about focusing that as the number one thought and challenge for retailers, right? Number one. Number two, oftentimes in sessions like this, people ask me, what should we do to pick a use case for Gen AI and AI? And I say this all the time. Forget AI, forget Gen AI. You shouldn't be doing a project if there's no ROI for it, apart from compliance, right? Keep that aside. That discipline doesn't change with AI and Gen AI. It's very important that when you pick a use case for your organization, you pick one where you have a business sponsor who's willing to sit down with you and sign up for the return on investment. Don't underestimate the cost of doing a Gen AI project. It looks great. It is great. We just talked about the benefits, but think long term about the total cost of ownership and then the ROI for that, and manage expectations. So back to your original question, there is tremendous pressure on people like Aravind and me and Hemanth, from C-suite, from executives, all the retailers, IT leads, to do something, go do something. It's very, very important for us to stop and educate and determine real use cases with ROI. I would encourage retailers and non-retailers going down this path to come up with a good cadence. Develop an AI council. There's so much pressure to do something, so AI council is a good buzzword, right? You can check that box in your organization. Come up with a good AI council, meet with them frequently, manage expectations. I'll give you an example. Somebody walked in and said, hey, this is a great use case. And I looked at the use case and I said, why do we need Gen AI for this? You can use RPA to automate what you're doing. That's the pressure, right? They want to use the word AI, they want to use the word Gen AI, but that's when it is our roles to stop and ask, do you really need Gen AI to solve that use case? Can you do automation? Can you do RPA? Can you do other things to do it? So my last advice on this particular topic is start small and then go big. Slow down to go fast. Stop. I talk to my PIO peers and I always hear, like, at least you'll get 3 new AI products in your inbox by some board member or C-level executive saying, let's go implement it. Do your due diligence. Go slow to go fast, right? Slow down to go fast is very, very important for us so that we don't get lost in this mist, because there is a mist around that right now. So our jobs as leaders is to demystify it and do the right thing for our organization.
100% concur with. And you very rightly pointed out that any initiative where we haven't done the due diligence of identifying the ROI is just setting ourselves up for the failure, right? With Gen AI being the buzzword of the industry, everyone wants to get onto the bandwagon, but we have to really understand whether this is a use case where Gen AI will really help, or is it something that can be solved through other means and we'd still get a better return on investments, right? Arvind, if you want to add some insights to this.
I think Shruti did cover. I think data, she talked about ROI and why that return on that investment, because AI is not cheap. It's not cheap. And we've also made it very expensive, right? And I do, sometimes they look at our consulting partners and product vendors and consulting partners, and in the moment you add AI to your, the rates go up, right? There's a 40 to 50% premium when the word AI is added to that. So we've also made it super expensive, and that really scares us. And I see the cycle. Everybody says hype cycle, and we've created something in our organization as a three points in the cycle. So we have solutions that are unaccepted, right? Oh my God, business will never use it. This is not something that we will ever do. And from there it goes to accepted. Yeah, it's okay, we can live with it. And then it goes to expected, right? That's so we are right now in the accepted to the expected zone on AI. So you accepted it because you have to live with AI. AI is going to make some decisions, and the organizations have to stay with those decisions. And those are the guardrails that we keep talking about in the AI world, that there are some decisions that AI will take, right? Whether it is good or bad or super efficient or whatever it is, you'll have to live with it. So accepted to expected. I think the next wave is every part of our organizations to expect, why doesn't this work be done by an agentic AI? Why can't we do it using some other way in which this can be accomplished? So I would say that's one of the I would say the barriers that you would see, right? And I think, as Shruti nicely pointed out, the board members, the executive team, is asking, hey, others are doing, what are we doing? Right? Everybody's doing. Every organization is talking about AI. What are we doing within the company? So we have the urge to start fast and then it goes to an unaccepted zone, to an accepted zone, and then to an expected zone. So adoption is normally takes cycle times to adopt. And again, once you start adopting it, there are questions for which we have to have answers to the organization, especially around ethical concerns, regulatory risks that are there, which are very valid. When AI takes over, you got to live with those risks as well. And many of the organizations, while with the urge to start, which is good, should also consider at some time in the accepted and expected zone to think about any of these ethical concerns and regulatory risks that will be there, because the intelligent engine is going to take some decisions, whether to refund an order that was placed by the customer, or offer them a special promotion, right? Buy one get one free on a $10,000 item. I don't know, whatever the AI engine is going to give, you have to live with that, right? Because it becomes a part of company, and it becomes our company response to certain things. So no, it's a boon actually. I wouldn't say it's a difficult one, because we've gone through these cycles in the last 40-50 years. Everybody has gone through cycles of these kind of innovations coming in, and we live with it. We know how to work through that, and then we get to the next. I'm assuming the next one is quantum computing, is what we all will be gearing up for in next 10 years.
If I could
So
just add
Aravind,
one
yeah,
thought
go
there.
ahead.
Is that sorry, Hemanth? Is that okay?
Sure, please go ahead.
I wanted to build on what Aravind said. It was a great point. He talked about ethical AI. One thing that many of us have seen those innovation corners, I call, right? Going to cloud was in the past, but this is similar and yet different because of the pace, right? It's similar because we're turning a very important technology corner there, but the pace is very fast. The one thing that I'm extremely worried that we don't spend enough time as we jump on this journey, and we all should jump on this journey of Gen AI, is cybersecurity. We are not spending enough time talking about the effects of security as you get on this bus to take your organization on this Gen AI journey. I am terribly worried about it. And I think by the time, and that doesn't mean nobody's talking about it. There are lots of conversation. I was reading a very good article about just the security risks associated with DeepSeek. It just came out a couple of days ago. I think we have to spend some time talking about it and spending time and focusing, and that just is getting in the back burner or the side burner. So I just wanted to sprinkle that into this conversation too.
200%, Shruti. So that's the key behind any initiative that we are doing. Right? We cannot compromise on the security just because we are doing something really fancy out in the world. Right? So 200% agree. So Aravind, I like this sentence what you mentioned. We made AI expensive. So it's a premium. I'm going to use it going forward. So I'm going to take this from you, just letting you know. And as you both have echoed the thoughts on the data, right? So I was in a fireside chat with one of the leading CXOs like you both. And when I was asking this question, what is it one thing that keeps you awake in the night, probably, like, when it, with many things going around. So the interesting answer I got is the Gen AI, right? So whether there is a real necessity for that particular organization to do it or not, it's just because too many things happening around in that particular landscape, and how to keep up with that competition landscape. So customers having too many options out today, that's the reality, right? And retail being more cost sensitive, right? End of the day, whether like whatever experience you give your customers and whatever initiatives that you do, it boils down to the price. So it's all the price sensitive situation that we are living in. And what if Gen AI kind of an initiative helps in making some uninformed decision when it comes to pricing? What if your pricing engine becomes smart, right? Like before, rather waiting on your team or the pricing team to bring down your price or move the price around. And what if the dynamic pricing goes up to the next level, leveraging Gen AI, right? Because that's key. Like in end of the day, like we are in a situation with we moved away from economic uncertainty is what I would say. We are this year is going to be like a lot better is what the predictions are, but still like we are in a phase where pricing is really key. And I've seen a lot of CXO initiatives. They are focusing more on driving and giving the right experience to the customers at an optimized cost. So I just wanted to bring on that. And data, there are a lot of challenges. I think we, Aravind, like we need a separate discussion altogether on data. I don't think we can do it today because that's the key here. Before even we tap into Gen AI or AI, there are a lot of challenges that data can solve. So yeah, the data silos that we see, or with the omni-channel, experiences we are going through, the data silos, the data deduplication that is prevailing today. And as Shruti mentioned, like everyone claims to have data, but how consumable it is a real question. And what exactly are they doing with the data? For example, you drive a loyalty on top of your data. Is that really moving the needle? Not many have answers today. So very interesting insights from Aravind and Shruti. I really appreciate your thoughts out here.
No, absolutely. Thank you so much. And these are all relevant topics on what we need to focus on from an challenges perspective as well, right? As you all rightly pointed out, some of the challenges are on the data side, some of the challenges are on the ethical sides. But the reason these challenges are becoming so forefront is the pace at which the entire ecosystem around Gen AI is evolving. It's just growing at a breakneck speed, wherein just a couple of years ago we had seen the introduction of OpenAI, which got us to the conversational piece of Gen AI. And the way Gen AI is overall structured is there are 5 stages of Gen AI. You start with a conversational element where we can at least start the conversations with the customer. You move to more of a reasoning level, where now the system itself is smart enough to reason and identify what the customer is looking for. And the third stage was agentic AI, which is what we are currently seeing in the market. So within a span of 2 years, for the technology to move from a conversational piece, which is kind of the founding stone for the entire Gen AI, to the second level of reasoning, and then the agentic AI, it is just growing at a breakneck speed, right? And the next 2 layers, based on the prediction, is we have the innovation layer within Gen AI, and then it goes into organizational, wherein we'll be able to establish the entire company, and the AI would run the company itself, right? So having said that, I wanted to move the pace and kind of discuss more on the improvements in Gen AI, or how things are trending towards it, right? As I mentioned from the stages, recently, agentic AI is something that has the buzz of. So where do we see agentic AI coming in? How do we see its adoption within the retail space? What are the challenges? What are the advantages of leveraging agentic AI? I would like so Hemanth, probably you can start off the topic, since you would have spoken with multiple players in the
Sure,
industry.
Jaydev. Yeah, I can definitely touch upon this, but I really want Shruti and Aravind to chime in because that's a very broad area. So to answer your question, Jaydev, I know like from AI, Gen AI, conversational AI, agentic AI, AGI, this keeps going, right? So I don't see an end to this, at least in the near future. Like we see things evolving, but again, when you put it back to your adoption rate, right? So how many of us are there yet? That's still a question. Okay. And with a given set of priorities in place, because we all have roadmaps for the year or the next few years at least. We know what business problems that you're trying to solve and what customer problems are there in the priority. And with this pace of Gen AI adoption, I mean, the trends coming in. So if having met with a lot of leaders like Aravind and Shruti, the one thing I keep hearing is, then I have one thing I need to do is keep my lights on the key initiatives, which I cannot move away from. Second is I have my roadmap that I need to focus on. And yes, of course, I need to keep up in pace with the Gen AI and agentic AI. But it again boils down to what priorities are they like trying to solve, right? When it comes to the business and consumer problem. I mean, yeah, like there could be a lot of fancy stuff that we could do. But if there is a core business problem that this agentic AI is going to solve, that's a priority. Absolutely. So I totally agree with the thought that we have moved away from the reactive to the proactive approach by leveraging, the agentic AIs, where there is a lot of things that like you can automate. and you can make uninformed decisions, rather minimizing the human interventions. It's right, as Aravind rightly mentioned, the supply chain optimization. That's one of the key areas. Anything specific to your pricing, if we are able to with minimal human intervention, because the time we spend in terms of a human getting interfered and making that change, and they're losing a lot on business. Just imagine like an industry where the price fluctuation, like where you sell fresh foods and you have the shelf time of that, and you have the fuels, example, like gas that keeps fluctuating. And what if one guy takes a lot of time in moving down the prices before, whereas the other guy is already there? So there are certain key aspects to it, and whatever the pace we are moving in, Jaydev, when it comes to the evolution of AI and GenAI, but it again boils down to your priorities of the business and the customer problems that you would want to solve leveraging. I would want to hear Aravind and Shruti, because you guys have been seeing this day in and out, and a lot of pressure on the leaders like you in terms of the adoption and what needs to go next. So please.
Yeah.
My 2 cents.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Aravind.
On the agentic AI, I think that's, to a large extent, I think that's the future of how AI will be adopted and expected within the organization. And the reason is it kind of blends well with the work that we do, right? We're organized in teams, right? Think about an organization structure has functional areas and teams working in different parts of the functional areas, and they have specific area of expertise. So you have a credit collection team, you have an accounting team, you have a finance team, you probably have a warehouse management team, and within that there are certain disciplines of work that is done. And agentic AI kind of tries to mimic that, and I think if we can get that right, I think that's where I would see. So for example, within our organization we have a credit collection agentic AI, right?
Mhm.
And we call that as a co-worker. So we want to also use some better names for these AI agents. So it's a co-worker, a credit collection co-worker, right? Which does everything from invoice, processing to responding to customer queries about credit limits, responding to customer queries about payments, payment options. So whatever a credit collection a person would do is done by the co-worker, right? Because that's how we are organized. We're humans, and we have organized our business in certain fashion. So agentic AI will take off, because now you're kind of resemble the same thing using AI, but you're also asking that to take decisions, and that is where I think these AI engines have started to learn, based on data history, how we work, right? And they're starting to take decisions for us. So I think finance organization one is probably much more structured, because a lot of that is rules driven, a lot of that is conditions driven. So maybe that's an area for agentic AI. Supply chain dynamic pricing, you said something about dynamic pricing. I think that's something at a real time, because it is humanly impossible for the teams to do that, right? Because you're talking about large amounts of data in an extremely short time that you would not humanly possible. So that's an area to look at. Checkout, AI powered checkout, a cashierless option that's available in the store. That's an agent's work, right? You have a point of sale agent who's going to scan the item and scan the credit card and whatever, right? They collect the payment and give the products, right? That's now replaced by an AI agent, which can do that. So you just walk out. In many cases, you just walk out of the store. It somehow figured out what did you pick and what is the price of it, and it charges the credit card and does whatever it has to do, right? So those are things that are happening. I think more quickly you will see that it is expected in the organization that you have your agentic AI capability, and that's doing the work along with humans.
Great thoughts, Aravind.
Shruti, you wanted to
Yeah, I think both Hemanth and Aravind summarized it really well there. And for agentic AI to be an effective co-worker, I do agree, Aravind, we need to come up with innovative names there. For it to be a good co-worker, it goes back to your data, right? Is the co-worker being fed and trained with proper data for it to independently make decisions? That's why, we've talked about data so much today. That's number one. Number two, Arvind gave a very good example, right, of finance having, it's a rule, many a times rule based, little bit black and white right there. So I always encourage companies to start in-house. All of these things that you want to dabble with, agentic AI, Gen AI, start with an internal use case. So in case there are hallucinations, in case there are errors, because you didn't really know how good or bad your data was and how the agentic AI is reacting, you can still control it in your family, right? So those are great examples. One thought that I wanted to share earlier, right? As we talked about all these use cases, Jaydev, right? It's not that all retailers are mature and all of them are using it for price optimization or supply chain or merchandising trends or allocation plan. No, I've seen companies basically in three categories. Number one, they are innovative. They are want a little bit on the cutting edge there, so they are building their own with LLMs, right? That's one category of companies. Many of them were in a sandbox last year. Some of them have now moved out of the sandbox and have implemented things, right? The second set of companies or category, I would say, are companies who are depending on their vendors' AI tools, right? Whether it's Salesforce Agentforce or Workday's AI or Copilot, it feels safer because they are bigger companies. They will worry about cybersecurity, hopefully. They will worry about all the costs, etc. So they are dabbling with the vendor developed AI tools under the hood. And then there are the third category of the companies who are extremely skeptical. Maybe they don't have very good data, and they're just playing with absolute small sandboxes with internal use cases. For example, in IT, maybe in finance, etc. So the level of maturity, as we have been going in this rapid pace in the last 2 years, really is different for all retailers and other companies dabbling in the Gen AI space.
Absolutely. The pace of adoption is different depending on multiple factors, depending on what the roadmap is, depending on what challenges you are tackling, depending on where you are within your journey of evolution as well, right?
That's
So
right.
that's a very critical point to highlight, that not everyone is growing at the same pace, but everyone is seeing the value and at least starting to think on how we can grow in this area. Absolutely. So before we jump onto the penultimate questions, there are a few questions from the audience which I would like to go ahead with. One of the questions that the audience has is, how can AI bridge the online-offline shopping gap beyond just recommendation engines and virtual assistants? Where do we see the adoption of this? So, sure, anyone, Arvind, Shruti, or
Yeah,
Hemanth, anyone?
what AI is now advanced enough to have two major concepts within AI. The first one is it is stateful, right? It knows who you are, from where you are, and how you are coming in as a customer. I'm talking about it's
Okay.
stateful and it's contextful.
Okay.
So what AI has learned, and what we made AI to learn, is that context and statefulness. So if you are offline, meaning you are coming into a store, right? You're walking in, right? Understands that you are a VIP customer, or understands you are a premium customer, a platinum customer, and then now you come back online. AI is now able to bridge the gap between that context of the statefulness of when you came and the context in which you came. For example, you came, you looked at an item, you didn't buy that at the store, right? You because maybe the size was wrong, or the color you didn't like, or that's not your preference, right? So when you come online, it's now able to bring that context that you are looking here, and AI is able to do that today because it starts having that statefulness and the contextfulness that is required. right? And that is a very, very powerful. It's not losing the state, right? That's what ChatGPT and others have done now. That more and more you prompt, it understands the state it is already in, right? It's not changed its state, and it starts understanding the context in which you're coming in. So I think those two things, but just the gap between online and offline, and that more and more you will see that. You will see this experience even before you realize you'll see that experience coming in.
Sure, that's really insightful. Have
And Jaydev, adding on to what Aravind was mentioning, right? The online, offline, especially in this omni-channel world, it doesn't really matter, right? For Aravind or Shruti or Hemanth as a customer, when they are engaging with a brand, it doesn't really matter whether we walk inside a store or buy online. And we expect the retailers to have data about our preferences. For example, like we have interacted with the brand before, or the group of set of brands, right? Like whether online or offline. But the moment we walk in, we expect the experience to be a lot more personalized. And also, we should have an ability to do a cart handover. For example, like I use my mobile app to interact with a specific brand. And when I walk into the specific store, today with the latest and greatest of technologies, it's not very difficult to identify that Hemanth has walked in. Right. And when I talk to the sales agent who's really there, rather spending time and explaining on what I really want or what I really like, what if the sales agent proactively understands what my preferences are? And end of the day, the time he spends with me is going to come down. And also I'm able to get the right experience when I shop with that specific brand. So, and maybe as a customer, I'm expecting too much with a given infrastructure, but I think we are all heading towards that particular journey is what I think.
Yeah, we're taking the next step in the evolution of omni-channel where because yes,
That's
Shruti.
exactly right. Jaydev, you nailed it. You say the right phrases all the time. We didn't need AI to enable unified commerce. Connected commerce was something that retailers have been working on for a long time to recognize the customer, right? Jaydev, looked at something on his iPad in the morning, didn't quite buy it. At 12 noon at his lunch break, he walked into the store to look at the same product. Can the retailer say, welcome back, Jaydev, I saw you were looking at it in the morning. Here's a coupon. Here's a promotion. And then Jaydev is still stubborn, not quite sure he wants to buy that. Then he heads home, puts the kids to bed after dinner, picks up his cell phone, and then, he's still dabbling with that. And how do you connect it? That is definitely something that retailers have been working towards for many years. What AI and GenAI has helped is expediting the intelligence. Stateful is what I think Anand said, right? That is the advantage of this new tool that we have in our arsenals, right? In our quiver at the back there. So that how do you use it effectively to help with unified commerce?
Exactly.
Yeah, that kind of so before we conclude, there was a final question that we had on assessed. We've seen AI and Gen AI evolving over the last 10 years. We've seen the rapid pace at which it is evolving in the last 3 years. Where do we see Gen AI and AI moving in the next 3 to 5 years? What are the trends that we see from an industry perspective? What are the trends that we see from a technology perspective? And I'll probably pass this on. I mean, anyone can pick it up. This is an open question to all of you also.
Yeah, I see this as every single platform that we have in the organization will have capability to leverage AI. I think that's how it's going to be. Whether it's the HR system, whether it is our ERP system, or whether it is our commerce systems, or whether it is our marketing systems, all of those systems. And today, a lot of that is, we used to make this decision of buy versus build, right? Like many years back, that was the basic question everybody asked: do you buy it, do you build it? Right? I don't care whether you buy or build, AI is going to be there, and it's expected that every single part of the organization, every technology platform has something. Now, as CIOs, how do I bring it? How do I use it? How do I leverage to make more value out of it? That's the challenge that we will have. I don't think we'll have a challenge in platforms having AI capability, whether it's Salesforce, SAP, whether it is Microsoft, whether it is whoever in the world, Oracle, they all will have capabilities. Now, as a CIO, I think that's the challenge that we will have, and that is where I think the trend is. How quickly can I cobble it together? How quickly can I put things together? How quickly can I use it for solving a business problem? No more worrying about building it. I think it's going to be available.
Right.
I mean, it's like omnipresent, almost like water. Now the question is, how do I want to purify the water and drink it or use it for something else? Your AI is going to be there in every platform. Without our knowledge, it is already there. I don't see any reason why we should feel it's there in everything you buy today.
That is a great analogy of how it's like water. Earth is 75% water. We just have to understand the process of how we distill it, how we make it.
How we use it. Yeah.
I'm going to spend my Friday thinking about that analogy. I've never heard of AI, Gen AI being like water. It's a good food for thought for me this weekend.
Interesting. So, Arvind, I see one other question from the audience, right? That is very specific to the CPG brand. So, I mean, I really wanted to pick your brain on that. So, how are we blurring the lines between the retailers and CPG brands with this evolution of generative AI, especially when it comes to the D2C space? Because that's an interesting area where though you're a consumer goods company, you still have your direct-to-consumer channel. And how do you think generative AI is blurring that particular line between these two different segments? Any
Yeah,
thoughts?
I think retailers are helping us to a large extent. They are willing to share underlying data of customer buying patterns. The biggest trouble that CPG companies had is we didn't know who the customer was. We were 2 degrees away from the customer. The retailers were 1 degree away. The CPG was 2 degrees away from the customer. But retailers are now more than ever willing to share that customer buying patterns, customer preferences, because they know for them to be successful, we have to be successful in making the products that are that actually the customers would love to buy, right? If we want to put it on the shelf, that will be fast moving, right? And that's how the retailers make money. If you have fast moving products, they
Right.
that's where they make money. So retailers have become really smart. They're willing to share. CPG companies more than earlier are able to use that to drive customer preferences, drive customer buying patterns, drive customer decision making patterns, and then make the changes in the CPG organizations. Whether it is product innovation, whether it is in product merchandising, whether it is in layouts, and where do you put it, packaging decisions that are taken. All of that is much more better than what it was 15, 20 years back when retailers held the data and not willing to share it with others. But now I see that trend has changed a lot. And what has also happened is uh, there are syndicated data platforms that are willing to provide this data as well.
Mhm.
We were all talking about data. There are platforms, syndicated third-party platforms that are willing to give that data as well for CPG companies to use.
Very interesting insights, Arvind. So thank you. Thanks for answering that. And Jaydev, do we have a minute more? So we can talk about one interesting topic if you're okay.
Absolutely. We have 11 more minutes, so we can
Okay.
absolutely tell.
So Aravind and Sruti, one other interesting aspects of the generative AI, or whatever, let's start with AI itself, right? One of the problems that we have in retail, let it be e-commerce or the store experience, is the returns, right? And we are losing a lot of money in terms of the reverse logistics, and our sustainability goals are in stake because of the returns and number of returns and processing. And I have seen some of the retailers focusing heavily on optimizing that. How do I make my customers or consumers make better buying decisions, rather trying it out and then sending it back, the amount of money that I spend in the overall process. And it's a pain for the customers too. It's not just for the business, but why should customers spend? And we all know that there are certain technologies like the virtual try-ons, like retailers are implementing in order to get them a better look and feel of a specific product, and also some interesting chatbots that better engages with the customer and try to understand their preferences more and recommend something. But what are your thoughts here, and how do you think GenAI is going to help in terms of solving a critical problem like these? So like Aravind or Shruti, like anyone.
So do you want to take that?
Yeah, sure. Reverse logistics is a big problem. In fact, just this week, I was trying to return two things that I bought from the big guy, A guy, um, and they're like, keep it. I don't need it, right? I'll refund you the money because it's more expensive to process that return, right? And you highlighted it very well. It goes back to retailers have been dealing with this problem before, just like I talked about unified commerce, right? Connected commerce, right? What you want to do is to keep that customer help the customer to make the right decision and keep that product with the customer. So that's solving the front end of the problem, right? And we've talked about it in today's session, right? Gen AI helps you with giving succinct responses to the questions being asked of the chatbot, right? Gen AI being able to guide you through the buy much better than the technologies we've had in the past, right? So that handles the core of the problem as to hopefully not get to the point of return, right? So that, I think you just touched on it, right? And we are using it in a much more efficient and sharper way is, I guess, the best phrase I can use right now. Now, let's talk about the back end. Things will always come back, right? Returns, especially during the holiday season, just peaks there, right? How does supply chain then handle it? Distribution centers, supply chain, transportation systems. How do you weed through those tons and tons of returns in an effective way to make a decision? Not every box gets opened, right? Not every box gets opened. Lots of companies will make decision, and I'm sure Aravind can add to that on this box that is coming back with this particular item is not even worth for me to open it, right? Remember, Gen AI is helping you expedite a business process. Those decision making is where I think this technology is going to help largely on the second half of the equation for reverse logistics.
Yeah, I think the front part, making it better so that you're not buying something that doesn't fit you, you don't like it. So that's one way. The second thing, you're right. If you're going to return, I think there are few concepts that I'm seeing more is a dynamic capability. AI is coming up with dynamic recommendations when it comes to returns. So are you abusing the policy, right? While I know there's a standard policy that you can return an item 30 days, right? And if you don't use it, you just bring it back. I think AI is now catching that and saying that that's an abuse of the policy, right? So it's preventing, like a credit limit. Think about a return limit that we would all have, right? So that's an interesting concept. And then the whole concept of circular economy. I'm hearing more about, hey, I'm returning it, but it's now available for sale through another channel that the retailers have, right? For example, if you bought something and you returned it and you just will, I don't know whether I won't call it a second sale, but it's an alternate channel through which you can still buy. And I'm sure the big box retailers are already starting to do that. So they're trying to address that front, and they're also trying to address it in the back. And they're also trying to address it from a logistic standpoint, right? I think there's some unique, innovative things that it has happened. But I don't know if it's all AI driven, but it is data driven. Data has told them as to what they should do, and they're taking decisions based on the data.
Very interesting thoughts.
It comes one full circle, right? Remember, we talked about it at the start of the conversation, right? We've been dealing with these problems for a while. So when these use cases come, I encourage leaders like us to ask, do you need to apply Gen AI to this? What is the ROI? It's not like we didn't tackle these problems. We didn't know how to take the data insights. If you have good data, back to my data drum that I keep beating, you were dealing with that, right? So that's why for me, in these kinds of examples, right, ask yourself, slow down to go fast, ask yourself, because it's expensive sometimes, right? Does Gen AI fit into this use case? Do you have an ROI? What is it helping you achieve? So if it is faster business process, quicker decision, better customer engagement, great customer acquisition, whatever that benefit is, specify it, and we do pick up AI and Gen AI thoughtfully for that business process.
Absolutely, Shruti and Aravind. So one interesting thing I wanted to share here is I've seen a retailer, I don't remember the name of that particular market space or wherever. When I pick and choose a specific item, I see that this product has been returned. And it has asked me a set of questions before even I purchase that particular item. I found it to be intelligent. I don't know if that is the right customer experience or not, but at least it hinted me that there is a high chance that I might return this product if I'm not going to make a specific selection. I found that to be really interesting. I don't know whether it is a boon or pain, but I felt that. And also, like I've seen some retailers on the back end side, right? Not proactive, but reactive. They are identifying the set of products that are being returned quite often. And they are working on, if it is a marketplace, they have an opportunity to discontinue that particular specific product because of high returns. And if it is their own product, they are working towards the reason for those, the genuine reasons for those returns. I know we all have situations where people return, and that's if I'm not talking about that, but I think GenAI is used for validation of such returns. And what if it gives you a word cloud on saying that these are the specific products that are being returned, and these are the top reasons why they are getting returned to. So just wanted to share like what I like experienced very recently when it comes to this particular space, Aravind and Shruti.
Oh, that's a great insight, and thank you so much for this wonderful conversation, discussion on the return logistics topic itself. Right. Quick time check. We're close towards the end of the session, but I really would like to do a quick recap of where we started off. We started off at the peak of how Gen AI is revolutionizing the entire industry. We shared some of the use cases of how it is enabling the retail as well as CPG world. We discussed some of the challenges with Gen AI, specifically from a data perspective, from a security perspective, from an adoption perspective. What are the pros and cons? What things we need to consider, and what challenges we need to make sure we are ready to solve for. And we concluded with the high on where do we see this trends going in the future? What are the challenges? What is installed for us in the coming few years? How Gen AI would be progressing in the next years, how industries can adopt to it at their own pace, what works, what doesn't work, right? I would really like to thank you, Shruti, Hemanth, Aravind, for your great insights. This was a phenomenal discussion, and I really learned a lot. And if, as you mentioned as well, right, the one key takeaway which I will take is the world is moving towards a stage where Gen AI is equivalent to water. We just need to identify how to distill it and make it useful for ourselves. Any parting thoughts? Just one word, or where you see Gen AI in the next 3 years? One word from you, Shruti, Aravind, Hemant.
I don't know if I have a word, but I would say this as parting words here. Focus on data, start small, do internal facing use cases before you go customer facing use cases. Figure out the ROI, figure out the ROI, figure out the ROI, and start working on resources. That's a big crunch, finding people to help you with it. Start with vendor partnerships and security. I think we are not giving it enough attention.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
The one word that I would use, invest. I think invest is very, very important. Invest in people, invest in process, invest in everything, invest in technology. Invest is very, very important. If you're not investing, you're not going to get the returns. So make sure you're investing it.
Absolutely. Hemant.
I think they have taken all my words, Jaydev, unfortunately. Going back to that, but
That's the
this is
challenge
the
of being the last being asked the question.
Yeah. So again, generative AI is going to open up a lot of opportunities. That's what I would say. Right? If you're going to ask me if I have to predict for 3 years, I'll fail. With the evolution, with the things changing day in and out, so I cannot predict the future. It's a very open thing. In 3 years, if you ask me, I wouldn't be able to say. But in the next 3 months, if you ask me, I would be able to say something like, this is where we are heading towards. But generative AI is going to open up a lot of opportunities, and also we're going to make the effective use of the human resource in like doing productive work across retail. So that's my thought. Whatever evolution it is, maybe anything beyond AGI or whatsoever, but we all know that we will have enough time to invest on the right set of work rather doing redundant tasks. That much I'm pretty clear, Jaydev.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Hemanth. Thanks, Shruti. Thanks, Aravind. And I would like to thank AI CoreSpot for setting this up. We had a wonderful discussion. We really loved having Shruti, Aravind, and Hemanth on the panel, and looking forward to having more wonderful conversations on the topic.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Thank you,
you.
Jaydev. Thanks,
Just
Aravind. Thanks, Shruti.
closing
Pleasure.
side from closing comment from our AI CoreSpot side as well.
Please
It
go
was a
ahead.
very interesting discussion, and I was deeply involved in all the things which you guys were telling. I'm sure everyone was involved in this. So we would like to express our appreciation to all the community partners and speakers for today, which includes Aravind, Sruti, Hemanth, and obviously moderator Jaydev. You managed this amazingly well. I'm sure all the attendees who came and got into something which is in the minute details, the things which we discussed, the use cases, we deep dived into all the technological advancements which is there in retail, which is coming to be there in 3 months, 1 year, 3 years. So a lot of things we have discussed. I'm sure it has given a lot of knowledge, enrichment, and thought process to take back and put the same into practice into our areas where we are or want to work for. Just to let you guys know, our event was live on LinkedIn. And if you missed any part of today's session and want to revisit it, today's event will be available on our company's YouTube page for your convenience. As exciting technological advancements are on the horizon, we are thrilled as a platform to explore more in the year as well. Looking ahead, we have a diverse lineup for events focusing on different sectors, which is banking, financial, insurance, retail, telecom, healthcare, supply chain, manufacturing, and the industry goes on. So stay connected with us for this continuous learning. For more technological updates, visit our website and social media channels. We'll be sharing a wealth of knowledge, including details, announcements for our upcoming events, and much more, which will aid you in getting the registration done. We look forward to your support. Please like and share our content on the social media. It helps us a lot. A heartfelt thanks to InfoVision, who is our knowledge and innovation partner, and Digit7, who is our technology partner. Explore their websites, which is infovision.com, to delve deeper into the technological advancements. We thoroughly enjoyed bringing this session to you and hope you all found it as enjoyable as we did. We eagerly anticipate more sessions with you all in the near future as well. Take care and have a great day and year ahead. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.